any other questions, please let me know. I'm able or not to watch this. And get your points, Shankar. So you're saying something. Okay, you're pursuing graduation in AML. All right. Everyone can see my screen, right? All right. Okay, before answering these questions, let me explain what is generative AI, and then I will get into this. Okay. Generative AI is a subfield in AI, wherein it helps us to generate content. That's the whole idea behind generative AI. What kind of content it is? It can be text or code, or it can be images or video or even audio. Okay. So let me get into this. Yeah. Basically, you know what is an AI, right? So AI is an ecosystem. Okay. Whereas the machine learning or deep learning, the terms that you might have heard, is basically acts like a brain in a humanoid or even human or any living being, or the basic idea of machine learning or deep learning is to generate a model so that it acts like a brain. For example, let's take this web application. So we have a chatbot, right? This chatbot as basically runs on a model, a machine learning or deep learning model that acts like a brain. Whereas this web application is an AI product. AI stands for artificial intelligence, which is like an ecosystem. Let me AI ML DL. Let me take this one. You can see that machine learning or deep learning is part of AI. So AI is not just machine learning or deep learning. It is a whole ecosystem. In this example, the humanoid is an AI product, whereas machine learning or deep learning just acts like a brain, which gives instruction. For example, let me take a more practical example. Let me take Tesla car. Okay. Tesla car is semi-autonomous car, right? It has autopilot in it, just like the way planes has, the passenger planes or even jet planes. Basically, it takes instruction from the environment, the external environment. It can be a traffic signal, it can be a road, or it can be other vehicles nearby, or the environment nearby. Any object you can take, right? So it takes the input. There's something called lidar. So Tesla don't use lidar. They use an alternative one, lidar equipment. Mounted on car. You can see there's something called lidar, wherein these are sensors basically. It takes input from the external environment, feeds to machine learning or deep learning models, right? Extracts data from external environment through sensors, some sensors, something like this, and feeds to machine learning or deep learning model. And it takes this input and it gives instruction back again. Let's take an example for instruction is going to be like stop the vehicle, or move forward, or move backward, take U-turn, right? Take left turn or take right turn. So when there is a traffic signal, the red signal, obviously it has to stop. When there's a green signal, obviously it has to move forward or maybe left or right or U-turn. So this sensors extracts the information and feeds to machine learning or deep learning, which acts like a brain, right? And gives back the instruction. But just by giving instruction, does it mean that the car will act according to it? Let's take that I have a model. Okay, I have a piece of machine. In my, let's take a bicycle. So it has given the instruction that it has to move forward. Will it move forward? Obviously not, right? This whole ecosystem need to build around that instruction. So if it has to move forward, the car need to follow those instructions. Like let's take that steering wheel, or the engine need to start, and let's take that the instruction has given it to move at a rate of 150 kilometers per hour. So engine has to move accordingly, right? The whole ecosystem need to build around it. So this whole ecosystem we call it as AI. Okay. So don't get confused with artificial intelligence with that of machine learning or deep learning. Machine learning or deep learning is basically approaches to build this model. We prefer we prefer to go for deep learning models rather than machine learning. Machine learning algorithms are going to be considered as more traditional approach. Algos, traditional approach. Whereas deep learning is a more modern approach. It is based on neural network. If you look neurons in the brain, how does it look? It looks like this, right? Whereas neural network is going to be something like this. It's going to be something like this. Okay. So the basic idea is artificial intelligence is basically an ecosystem. It not to be a humanoid. It not to be a robot. It can be even a simple web application, like the way that I have shown it in here. It has a chatbot and it has a bot in the sense, obviously, it would have been built with some model, LLMs, right? So I hope you got the difference between artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. Machine learning algorithms being considered as more traditional approach, it won't be as much accurate as deep learning model does. So deep learning models are more accurate than machine learning approach models. Any questions up to here? And generative AI, in fact, it's a subfield in AI. There are a lot of other domains in AI. It's a subdomain in AI. There are a lot of other domains like reinforcement, like autopilot. Let's take Tesla car, right? Tesla car, in fact, it's not part of maybe they would have used generative AI models, but it's basically built using reinforcement learning. Whereas the LLMs also use reinforcement learning in some part, but not completely based on reinforcement learning. There are what I mean to say is AI has a lot of subdomains, whereas generative AI is one of it. And the whole idea of generative AI is to generate the content. What kind of content? Text, code, images, videos, or audio. Okay. I have given an example here. So let's take that we have given a simple prompt like what is generative AI. It has generated some text like this. This is text generation. This is one of the examples for text generation. Another one is text summarization. Let's take that you have given a document like this, and it's going to summarize into few words. That is text summarization. Generating code. Let's say that you have given some prompt, right? It has generated code, and it can even generate images or even videos or even audio. Let's say they have given some text. 11 Labs is one of the most popular, text to speech or speech to text AI API provider. So it converts it into speech or even speech to text, but it's going to be very expensive. 11 Labs is not that cheap. Okay, so let me get into let me get back to your question now. So being a Java developer, how can I, whether how can generative AI is going to be helpful to you in excelling in the industry, right? Or is it really necessary to learn Python or any other alternative for it? Machine learning or deep learning models can be built not just in Python, it can be even built in Java, C, C++, or even JavaScript. In fact, any programming language, there are absolutely no restrictions to it. But the fact is, we always go for Python. The reason for that is there are many libraries that are free and open source. Whereas in Java, you may not have as many libraries as you have it in Python. So something that you have to build on your own in some cases. There are a lot of people tried in Java, but failed to do it. So what they done at the end is they build the model using Python. Okay, the deployment part also in Python. I mean, it's a Python API. And once we have this, okay, they would have deployed it in Kubernetes cluster or more advanced like Python servers, which are for inference. Because once we deploy the model, once we send the request and it has to respond, right? So there are dedicated specialized I mean to say missions that which has a lot of GPUs in it that will, I know it's just going to be very fast and can handle a lot of, so huge workloads. Python is one of it. So we can deploy it here and we can use this API in any programming language you want. So let's say that you have built a web application, a full stack web application using Java, or it can be even Mern or Mean or Fern, or whatever it is. Once we have this API, we can easily use it in any web application, right? Doesn't matter which stack it is, isn't it? So who asked this question?
Yeah, myself, Nagaraj.
Yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Yes, yes.
The next question that you have asked, okay, I think I answered both of your questions. What? Java, yeah. And how come being a Java developer, no, learning generative AI is going to be helpful, right? That is
Yeah.
your question. So let me answer that. I'm going to take I'm going to take some 2 to 3 minutes to answer that question. Let me take an image here. Let's take how things were traditionally. Traditional approach is this. We have hardware wherein it can understand only zeros and ones. Obviously, it is very difficult to give input in zeros and ones and get the, interpret back again whatever the hardware gives the output, gives it in the form of output, right? So we need kernel, a kind of software wherein let's take that terminal. When we give ls, it has given the list of files that I have it in the current directory, in this directory. If I change this directory, obviously, this particular list will get changed. The idea is ls is basically list of items, which is a human readable command, right? And the output is also human readable. It is not in this, the input is not in zeros and ones, and this input is also not in zeros and ones. So under the hood, the kernel will help us to interpret this command. When we give input ls, it will convert into zeros and ones, something that hardware can understand. Once it gives back that output in zeros and ones, the kernel will help us to interpret in a human readable form. And we have shells here. Shells. Shell is basically a kind of interface like this PowerShell or even command prompt. The same command I have given, but dir, it's not the same command, but a similar command, ls. It will give the list of files or directories that includes hidden files in the current directory. This is another kind of shell. In Linux, we have a lot of shells like sh, bash, bash shell, ZSH. In Mac users, they may know this ZSH shell, right? They use it quite frequently. So we can switch to any kind of shells. Basically, the shell is kind of interface. And application is basically for end users or for any, let's take any non-technical user. For example, let's take google.com. Okay, google.com is one of the graphical user interface that web GUI, it's right? So this is a graphical user interface wherein we don't require any technical expertise to search against any web application or server. A simple GUI. So this application is the whole idea of application or even utilities like calculator. The whole idea of a calculator, web GUI or desktop GUIs, applications or utilities we call it as. The idea is to address the need of non-technical person. So a shell basically requires some kind of knowledge, isn't it? You need to know what is it. You need to know this DR. You need to know that you need to know about command prompt or even PowerShell. You need to have some technical knowledge in it. Even if you go to Linux, we can even write bash scripts. Okay, sequence of steps, sequence of commands with command, lot of commandlets. We can even include C, C++ programming in it. Okay, depends on how complex the requirement is. We need to write more complex logic. But shell, again, at this stage, we need a lot of expertise in knowing these commandlets and the interfaces. That includes kernel commands and all. Whereas applications are basically to address the non-technical person, the need of non-technical person. But building an application itself is very complex. We have Java developer here, right? So you are a Java developer, and you know how difficult it is to build an end-to-end web application, isn't it? For Java stack to build an end-to-end application, how many years of experience you need? Question. So how many years of experience you need to build an end-to-end application? It could be web or it could be anything, like even desktop way. So how many years of experience we require on this stack to build an end-to-end web application? 4 to 5 or maybe more, right?
Yeah, 4 to 5 and 3 to 4 is required to complete backend applications. Come to the web app, you have to industry standard, we have to have 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, in total 4 to 5. So years of experience. What do you mean by years of experience? It is intelligence or knowledge or both, isn't it? So how do we
Both.
apply this? Yeah. So how do you apply? You may know, you may have some domain knowledge in it, but how do we apply that? How much intelligence, right? Through this 4 to 5 or maybe more. In fact, Java, it requires more. So you need to have this much experience in order to gain intelligence or knowledge on this particular stack, isn't it? Generative AI, in fact, AI in general, basically idea is to replace human intelligence. Okay, now let's take that, give me some requirement, something, I don't know Java, but give me a requirement wherein I can generate the code. So in a natural language, anything it can be backend API or front end, whatever.
Okay. Creative an API to log the user and
Okay. Validate,
validate user and maintain the session. I return back to the
maintain the
success
session.
maintain the session and return back to the success response if user is validated, authenticated.
Okay.
Using to the Spring Boot, Java 21.
Using Spring Boot.
Spring
What
Boot
else?
3, Spring Boot and Java 21.
Java 21.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, 1 second. Okay. Error entering with a template. Okay. What happens? Let me close this and open. If this doesn't work, then I will try another alternative. Okay. Okay. The error pass error token from you can override the prompt template in models. All right. So this does okay. So this and the problem is that this is 32 billion parameter, which is very huge. So I will try this one. This will take some time to load. All right. Let me try now. When I said it replaces intelligence or knowledge, this is all what we need, right? So this is what a knowledgeable person, or intelligent person, or experienced person will build. Of course, we need to integrate this. There are better alternatives for code generation, web applications, like bold.ai. Let me show you that. Here, the bold.ai will help us to create all these files. The whole web application will be built by this. Is this completely going to be fully functional, right, with a simple prompt? Obviously not. We need to have some basic knowledge to integrate it, and there is a possibility of having bugs. So we need to keep sending the prompt back again and correct it. So we can even add prompts to enhance the application. But thing is that you don't require 4 to 5 years of experience. Just basic knowledge is enough. So basic knowledge, if you know the basics of Java stack, right? All the components that we are going to use in the stack, that is good enough. We can build an end-to-end application with the help of generative AI. So why do you need to learn Java? Being a Java developer, why do you need to learn generative AI? Obviously, this generative AI is going to replace you as a developer. Already, Facebook, that is Meta, the replay, 30 to 40% of the coding has been done by generative AI. Microsoft is aiming to 70% by 2026 or 2027. So it's going to replace the human resources. In future, it is going to, right now you got stuck, you got stick to the Java stack, right? In future, you may need to take requirement from client, right? The whole design and application part need to be done by you, and SQL development need to be done by you, and SQL DBA, and then what else we have? So DevOps and cloud deployment need to be done on your own. How can you do this? Obviously, we can use the generative AI. Yumi CI 3D scripts to deploy it in Azure Kubernetes cluster. It is giving me the CSV design, the script YAML file. How do I use it? Again, it depends on how much you are good at basics. That's all. It's going to give the complete set of instructions, isn't it? It is even giving us how to execute that. Okay. So I hope you go answer your question, both of your questions. I mean, both the questions. Being a developer, how can a generative AI helps to excel in software industry? And can we use Python alone or any other programming language is acceptable? Any other questions? Is that clear?
Yes, it's clear.
All right. Any other questions? Anyone else has? Ashok, Banerjee, Babu, Kishan, Nagaraju, Ram, whoever. All right. So we'll get into the content. So what all the topics or libraries or frameworks we will discuss in this course. Okay. Let me get back to this. So I answer a few questions like what is AI, how it is different from ML or DL, and what is generative AI, what generative AI does. It is going to generate text, code, images, videos, audio. And I answered two other questions like being a Java developer, how can generative AI is going to be helpful in excelling in software industry? Or why can't we do it? I mean, why can't we use Java or C, C++ to build models using Python? We can use it, but Python is more robust in providing more libraries. Almost for every need, you have a library, so you don't require to build anything from scratch. And it's free and open source. In fact, for a production research side, they use C, C++ or even Java because they need to build from scratch. Whereas applying these models, right? So we use Python, or even fine-tuning part, we use Python. We have a lot of platforms for it. I will show you in a short while. Okay, any questions up to now? So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. So you not to wait till the end of the session. You can unmute yourself and raise question. Okay. The next thing is, what are the libraries or frameworks that we are going to discuss in this course? One, obviously Python. You don't need to know Python. If you have some basic programming knowledge, like if you know how if works, if or if else, for loop or while loops. If I know, let me show you the code. If I explain this code, and if you're in a position to understand it, that is good enough. Of course, this is in Python. As I told you that you not to know Python to start take up this course. We will explain, you will start with Python basics. So we'll explain the code. But once when we are explaining this code, if you're in a position to understand it, that is good enough. Okay. And moreover, this good time even non-programmer to start generative AI, because we have generative AI tools to generate code. Earlier, it used to be like you need to be good at data structures, algorithms, and system design, isn't it? So now we don't really require much. Of course, if you have knowledge, that is definitely going to be helpful in some way or the other, but you don't really need to know all this. Just basic knowledge is good enough. You not to be an expert in it. That is what I meant to say. All right, so we'll start with Python, and then we have NumPy and Pandas for data analysis, data cleaning, and data pre-processing. So, and then Matplotlib and Seaborn, there are two other libraries for data visualization, for plots. And mathematics and statistics, which is a prerequisite in order to understand machine learning or deep learning. So we will discuss that in detail. So let me show you how we provide the nodes. So you not to bother about any nodes. Even if you look at this template, this is a whole project altogether. There are some 5 to 6 projects in it. We will provide end-to-end solution for it. So you not to bother about it. And moreover, most of the scripts that we provide, you're not going to get anywhere else, whether the GitHub or any other source. Maths and statistics, right? So math stats. So we'll provide the statistics, something like this, hypothesis testing, covariance with a detailed example. Okay, that's a correlation. What is the difference between correlation and covariance, and where we are going to use it? Methods of dispersion like range, interquartile range, standard deviation. But detailed notes will be provided to you. Here we have something called Jupyter Notebooks. We are going to use two IDEs, one Visual Code, the one that you're seeing here. The other one is Jupyter Notebook, something like this. It's going to be like this. And most of the scripts I'll provide in the form of template. Let's take that regression. Usually they don't provide in the form of templates, so I will provide in the form of templates. So just by the whole thing that you need to understand here is, of course, knowing the code, knowing the purpose of each block is important. But when it comes to execution, only the first block is good enough. You can change these options and make it work. You can generate a whole model. If you look at this model, it is somewhere around 94.92. Without much knowledge, by providing data set, you will get a very decent model, at least 80%. 80% accuracy, I meant to say. Okay. And maths and statistics, as I told you, it's a prerequisite, but it's going to be explained in this course. Machine learning or deep learning, as I told you, that machine learning algorithms is more like a traditional approach, whereas deep learning is a modern approach. And we will discuss that in detail, especially those who has some basic knowledge about generative AI. They might have heard this term transformers. Transformer is one of the deep learning models. So we'll discuss that too in detail. So that let me show you transformers. Okay, we will discuss that in detail. I mean, say with what is architecture and how it works with the complete explanation. And LLM internals also we have. How LLM model will work. Let me show you that. So if you provide some text, it's going to convert into bits and bytes and then it's going to convert it back into bytes. Sorry, it's in this is going to convert into bits first, and then bytes, and then it's going to group the most commonly occurred group of bytes and form tokens. That in turn will be used to train the model. How we're going to train this model is going to be like this. So we will try to predict the next token. Okay. So even before this, like we need to understand how transformer works, what is vector, so that you can understand these concepts quite easily. So everything is going to be in depth, not it's not like only to face interviews. We prepare scripts in a way that you can use it in production. So the idea is to in 3 to 3.5 months span of time, by the end of completing this course, you should be in a position to handle any kind of generative AI project, or in generic machine learning or deep learning projects also. And then we have PyTorch and TensorFlow for deep learning. So in order to build neural networks, we need to use one of these. And we used to use TensorFlow a lot, but now it's more PyTorch. So most of the code that you can see it here, is everything in PyTorch. PyTorch we otherwise called as Torch. So we use this whole scripts, like all these templates, all the projects we built using Torch and other transformer-based libraries. Okay, and Git is and GitHub are for version control. LangChain and LangGraph are for generative AI application. In order to build generative application, you need to be good at LangChain and LangGraph. And for agentic AI, you might have heard this term agents, right? Generative AI agents. So we use LangGraph or LangChain, but LangGraph is much better option for agentic AI. And Files and Chroma, or even we can use Azure SQL or MongoDB to store vector databases, vector data. So these are called as vector databases, vector DBs, otherwise called as. Docker for containerization for microservices. In order to build the API, especially for microservices architecture, we need to know about Docker and how to contain it. And it's not just, sometimes we may not have enough infra, like enough GPUs, RAM, or CPU, whatever. So then we need to go for cloud. So in that case, we have Azure, AWS, and GCP. GCP is not been, GCP also is part of this course. For detailed curriculum, go to vlrtraining.com. Okay, let me VLR training, search for VLR training. Don't go for vlrtraining.in, go for vlrtraining.com. Okay, click on that, click on generative AI, click on course content. For contact, I can contact this number. Course content, you have this detailed content here. That includes projects also. What kind of projects we are going to discuss. Okay. And this course has MCP and A2A also, the recent latest technologies that we got it in generative AI. And agentic AI we have too. And Azure Foundry of Cloud. Cloud is very important, especially those clients who don't have their own infra. They have to go for Azure or AWS. So we have Azure Bedrock and Azure Foundry too. There are two ways. One, utilizing the model as an API through Azure AI Foundry or Bedrock, or create your own model, deploy your own model in Kubernetes cluster. Either it's Azure Kubernetes cluster or EKS, Amazon Elastic Kubernetes service. So you have both the options. It's not just one way. There's going to be only one project only using cluster. So we can use both IaaS and PaaS solutions. Okay. And tools or platforms like open source. Hugging Face is one of the most popular platforms wherein we will get access to open source models, completely free. And sometimes we need some kind of permission. So something we call it as gated repositories. We can go to models and download it. How do we download that? Again, that has been given in the projects. Here, if you look at it, I have provided the model. I can use transformers library and can get the model. And I can save these models right here itself. Okay. So this is how the model is going to be. The main important one is the model.cf tensors, and the other files are associated files that to model.cf tensors. That includes tokenizers. Okay. And if there are some models that we don't get direct access, so we need to request. So something like we need to go to settings. No, not all the time. I mean to say we need to place request, and then there's something called gated repos. Gated repositories, right? These are all models that I don't have direct access to. So I place a request that I accepted it, so I can use these models. So once we have this model, you can directly go here. Any model you take, files and version, you can use transforms library and you can use it. Sometimes it says that it is restricted. Then you'll get an option right here itself. Right here itself that we need to place a request. So we need to place a request manually. Okay. I hope you're getting good view, on what is generative AI, the tools, libraries, or frameworks that we have. And alternative to Hugging Face, we have Olama. Olama is one good, another platform wherein we can access a lot of models. If you look at this mission, Olama list, these are all the models that I have pulled from here. Just like the way we have GitHub or Docker Hub, we have the Olama for models. Okay, I have even Quen 3 also, the latest model, Quen 3 14 billion parameters. I have GPU around 12 GB, so I restricted myself to 14B. We have even better models, but I do have only 12 GB. So if you don't have GPU, then the only option is go for low-end models. The idea is to understand the process flow. Once you understand the process flow, it doesn't matter how much size the model is. So you can implement it just by changing the number of, just by pulling the right model at the right time in production. Okay. And so LM Studio, you already saw that LM Studio, right? LM Studio is one of the tools wherein we can test the models in your own local environment. It's a desktop GUI which is being provided completely free. You're not to spend a penny for this. This is for testing. But at the end, we deploy it in the form of APIs predominantly. And alternative for LM Studio is this one, QSTY. Sorry, MSTY. So I forgot the name. It's not QSTY, it's MSTY. This one. There's an alternative for LM Studio. This is basically for Olama models. So LM Studio, we use it predominantly for Hugging Face models, whereas for MSTY for Olama models. We can easily access without much configuration for Olama models. All the models that you see it here, Olama list, it's going to automatically get populated here. We have better alternatives also, like in Visual Code itself, we have Code GPT, wherein we can plug the model and access it. Okay, right within the Visual Code itself. If you want to modify anything, just select it and you can use that one too. And this is another interface wherein we call it as GPT for all. This is another app, another UI which is completely free, and you can play with any model, any free open source model. And the bold.dy is another one for web, especially for web applications. Okay, usually these models, these UIs will generate the code, but it will not create the files automatically. Whereas in this case, we can create files automatically and we can download the code and start building on top of it. And ADA is complete terminal based. This is especially help. We can even modify the files. We can create files on fly, and we can generate the code and dump it in a file to wherever whichever the location that we want. This is especially for when you have a server or a machine when it's completely terminal based. You don't have GUI, graphical user interface. If it's complete terminal based, then Ada is going to be very helpful. Ada is one such tool that is complete terminal based and very powerful. You can plug in any Olama model and you can play with it. And here we have continue, which is sometimes it works and sometimes it's not. So I switched to this one. So this code GPT. I used to have this continue, but not right now. But we can try it. I mean, if at all it has any bugs, obviously they will correct it in a week or 10 days, right? It will take some time. But we can use continuous iteration and generate the code, just the same way that I have shown it here. And projects, we have a lot of projects, 10 to 15 parts overall. In Generative itself, we have around 10 to 15. And machine learning and deep learning together, we have around 4 to 5 other. So it's totally around 20. And recently, we have included deep learning, data engineering projects also. If you look at this data engineering section, wherein it help us to, create a process, data pipeline with the visualization tool, the QuickSight and Looker Studio, Power BI for visualization tools. So this is not a data engineering course, but this will help you to understand how typical data engineering pipelines are going to be. Sometimes you need to do, take up ad hoc tasks, right? In that case, it's going to be helpful. At least you'll get a good idea how the real-time production data engineering pipeline flow is going to be. And what else? Yeah, so these are the projects, the screenshots for various projects here. This for image to text. So if you provide image, it's going to read and explain that in detail. So we have various other projects also here. So look at this. This is for Azure, Amazon Bedrock, and we can utilize these models by creating API key and all. And this is Azure Foundry. We have a project on Azure Foundry too. So it's going to be totally around, in total, it's going to be 3 months, 3 to 3.5 months. And per day, it's going to be 1 to 1.5 hours. Monday to Friday. We usually not going to have any sessions on weekends, but sometimes we will plan on weekends too. And that is going to be overall around 4 to 5 sessions max. Okay. So request you to ask questions if you have any. Already shown the website, right? VLR training. Yeah. Please unmute yourself. Please don't hesitate to ask questions. On content or in general about generative AI or AI.
Good morning, Dhamodhar sir. This is Nagaraj.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Nagaraj.
Yeah. So this is for that you are saying 3 months duration course, right? But here
Right.
most of the people are the professionals, working people only. So
Right.
maybe can we expect only weekend, maybe Saturday, Sundays, long duration?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I gave you wrong info. In fact, this demo is for weekend. This is a weekend batch. I forgot that. Usually we will have sessions on weekdays. This first time we are starting a weekend batch. This is a weekend batch, and the duration is going to be not 1 hour. It's going to be 3 to 4 hours. Usually it's going to be 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes it's going to be even extend to 4 hours. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what we are confusing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot that. This my apologies. Like it's my bad that I mentioned 1 hour, but it's basically 3 to 4 hours. Usual sessions are going to be 2 to 3 hours, but the last few sessions are going to be even extended to 4 hours, 4.5 hours, and it's going to be completely around. It's going to take around 3 to 3.5 months. Okay, small correction. And it's going to be in English. We will deliver it in Telugu also. So anyone interested in Telugu, please contact the same number. Right? So the number that is in the website here. So 905-986-8766. Or you can simply click on WhatsApp. That will open the website and the WhatsApp web page. All right. Any other questions?
Yes, sir, my one question is there.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, currently industry allowing the AI tools like GitHub Copilot, ChatGPT, and Microsoft Copilot. Now
Right.
they are using these tools in the during the development. Now my question is, now projects are like domains, like healthcare and finance, like banking
Right.
domain.
Right.
The projects are developed in the .NET or in Java, other
Okay.
languages. Okay. Now come to the generative, how they are using to generate the existing project, existing domain. Okay. I was saying that this generative AI to use it to for the development and DB side and cloud and infrastructure, everything will take care of it. Okay, it will reduce the current scenario transition mode. Okay, now currently transition mode to come to generative transition mode. Okay, how can you impact it? How can we integrate this generative AI to the current industry? Means the current project, existing project.
So there are two things here. One,
Okay,
traditional approach. Again, from a development perspective, web development perspective, traditional approach. Another one is modern approach.
okay,
That is using models. The question is, like, when do we go for programming and when do we go for models? That is generative AI or AI models, especially. Right? So models are basically for, let me, I will explain with the code. Let me show you that. Maybe a better example I have already. There are limitations to AI models also. Thing is that, so whenever there is a repetition, there is an internal pattern which is very complex, something that we can't use programming, then we can use AI models. For example, chatbot, right? So is it possible to program it on your own? Even if you program it on your own with the data that is whatever that you have it in your machine, whatever that you have it in your database, that's not going to be good enough. That is when we need these AI models. AI models basically for something that, data that has internal pattern in it, some regularity. Pattern, I mean to say some regularity. If it is completely irregular, we can't build a model. And it is very complex in nature to write code on our own. That is when you go with models. And how do we expose these models? You not to disturb the whole application. Because the models are going to be exposed through API. In fact, API is one of the ways wherein it encourages decoupling, right? So it does not encourage type toppling. So you can easily plug in and play with it. It's not really difficult to integrate these models in any kind of application, whether it is graphical or web or desktop. I hope I answered your question. So programming is when the complexity is less comparatively, of course. It's not easy to build a application. Complexity less, and it is more sequential in nature. Whereas AI models, when it is heavily reliant on data and it has an internal pattern in it, and the complexity, I mean to say, when it comes to complex, it's huge compared to traditional machine learning, traditional programming. Then we go with AI models. There are limitations to AI models also. Let me show you that with an example. So here we have reasoning-based ones. For example, where is that? Yeah, here we have a question wherein Emily buys 23 apples and 177 oranges. Each orange costs $4. The total cost of all the fruit is $816. Is it possible to write a program? Yes, we can write it, but again, it is scenario based. Scenario to scenario, it will change, right? Whereas when can we use AI models? Obviously not, no, because it will predict the next token. The answer, it may give you an answer, but the answer may not be right, not be precise enough. So what we have done here is we have given the prompt, we have given the question, reasoning based question, and we have clearly mentioned use code. So it automatically generates the code and execute it and gives the output. This is perfect example wherein traditional programming and AI models being combined together. I hope I answered your question. Is that clear? We have another examples also here. Let's take that we have some dots and need to be counted. Obviously, we can write traditional programming much better than AI models. We should not use AI models here. The reason for that is it's going to consider as each set of this, right? Each color coded dots being considered as one token. So the idea, the way these models been built are not really helpful to count these dots. Again, can we use AI model to get the output? Yes. What we have done here is we have used code. Apart from prompt, we have added this prompt like use code that generates the code and on its own and gives the output. It clearly says 174 dots. Earlier it used to show 190 dots. Right? Right now we are in crossroads like rotational. One second. Traditional programming and AI models. And the difficulty part in implementing it is not really difficult because everything been exposed through API. Who asked this question?
Yeah, Naras.
So is that clear or you have any further questions on it?
Yeah, he's saying that we can build the model of traditional approach, modern approach. Traditional approach, we are going to the programming that we have to go into the understandable and less complex. Come to the modern approach.
Because because
modern approach, you have to give to the complexity, but we need to train, right? Or
it is more data centric. You have to have a lot of data for it. And it has to have internal pattern. If it doesn't have any internal pattern, it is completely irregular in nature. We can't generative model. Of course, we will get the model, but the model is not going to be effective. And it is very complex. The data and the internal pattern, finding the internal pattern it should be complex in nature. I mean to say, we can use statistical based methods if it is a simple one to build a model. So AI models or machine learning models, right? These are basically kind of automating in finding the internal pattern in the data. Doesn't matter how complex it is. But depends on the category, we have various architectures. It's not the same all around. If you take generative AI, it all started machine learning, right?
Yeah.
And then it evolved to ensemble algorithm, machine learning algorithms. And then it got into deep learning, whereas deep learning we have perceptron and then multi-layer perceptron. And then we have ANN, artificial neural network, and then deep neural network. And then we have RNN, and then we have LSTM, and then we have GRU, and then we have encoder, decoder, and then we have attention, and then we got self-attention, and then we got transformers. So the models that you see it here are all transformer-based models. One second. Let me click on this. Are all transformer-based models. The transformer-based models are production-grade kind of architecture. So the one that we have seen earlier here in transformers, this is the architecture that we use. Here you can see that this is the architecture that we use. This is one of the deep learning architectures. And these are still evolving. But this is one of the breakthroughs wherein it provides a more real-time, a more reliable solutions compared to its previous predecessors, I mean to say. I hope you got an idea. There are too many things. Of course, it is conceptually, you're going to learn a lot of concepts, but it's going to be helpful at least 10 to 20 years. The traditional programming is not going to be, not going to last more than 3 to 4 years from now, I mean to say. So even though You may be good at Java stack or MERN or mean. It's not going to last more than 3 to 4 years. And it's going to switch to complete natural language, I'm going to say. Let me show you that. Let me go back to the demo part. I have explained about this one, right? This one, the traditional, how traditional applications are going to be, right? In future, the voice is going to be replaced with LLM voice, wherein you can directly speak to it. Video, audio, you can show an image, you can write some text, you can directly speak to it. Earlier, that was not the case. So as it understands only zeros and ones, in order to simplify it, we need kernel and then shell and application or utilities and then on top of it. Right now, we are in a phase wherein the whole system is as it is. It's not really disturbed completely. I mean, it's not completely been, revamped. Whereas generative AI, we are using it as a tool, to build these solutions. But future, it's going to be even more disastrous, especially for programmers. We can directly speak to machines. Because we can't speak to machines directly, as it understands only zeros and ones, we need these many layers. Whereas in future, if it can understand natural language, whether it is or through audio, or I mean to say orally, or in some text form, or even images or videos, we don't really require this many layers, right? Got it?
Yeah, got it.
Already LLM models are associating with a lot of tools. So we don't require programming. I mean, we don't require a complete end-to-end application anymore. For example, calculator for mathematical operations, we can add some tool to LLM or existing model, and we can get a solution. So a lot of tools are coming in. In order to build application, we have agentic AIs or MCP, model context protocols. So it's evolving very fast and exponentially. So generative AI is not an option anymore, even for 10 to 15 years of Java full stack developers, because it's going to shake the whole software industry. In fact, most of the students we get are Java background, Java developers, because most of the web applications have been built using Java stack, right? So they are losing jobs. That's the reason. All right. I hope I answered your question. Any other questions?
Yeah, Dhamodhar, hi.
Yeah, right.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible. Go ahead.
Yeah, Dhamodhar, this is Kishan. So, sorry, actually, I didn't follow some of your things because it's late midnight for me.
Okay.
So, my question is like, nowadays there are so many open source AIs available to generate the
Right.
content, to generate the
Right.
videos or everything, right? So,
Right.
this course is basically training us on how to use them in an effective way, or
Mm.
um, to to work on a data. I mean, today now how they are acting, like, because someone
Okay.
should have already coded, should have already trained. For example, if I ask to tell a story, it will
Okay.
tells me the story like ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever it is.
Right.
So it is telling us a story because someone has already done the work for us and it is there, and just we are utilizing it.
Right.
So this course is especially focusing on how to use them effectively, or uh,
Uh,
the same approach, the same building today on my data. If I try and I'm going to create a something like those kind of stuff on my
right.
data, which will act upon my data. So
Okay.
um, what is this, like,
All
usage
right.
of existing thing or creation of a new thing?
All right. So he asked a very valid question. In fact, I have given right here itself. Thing is that we can use existing tools, but there are a lot of
Okay.
limitations to it. What
Yes.
about if you want to embed in a web application or desktop application? You need to create an
Okay.
API for it, right? So you need these
Mm-hmm.
sort of things. It's not just one, like there are a lot of categories in it, subcategories in it. If you
Okay.
go to Hugging Face, let me show you this. We have natural language processing. How many categories we have? So for
Okay.
each category, we have tons of models. We don't know which model will work. We need to test and find out.
Okay.
And we have computer vision. We have this many.
Okay.
So we don't know which, and like depends on the requirement. We need to come. We may need to use one of these models or maybe combination of it.
Okay.
Sometimes some models are effective in certain things like coding and all. Certain models are for specialized in something else. In that
Okay.
case, we use something called routing. So these
Okay.
tools are basically like one model, and you can plug in and play with it to understand how effective these models are. But
Okay.
is it going to provide an API? Yes, of course, we can run API, but there are limitations to it. We can't, basically we need to run the whole application. And
Okay.
another limitation is, let's take that you have your own data. Can we
Okay.
use these Hugging Face models or even Olama models straight away? Obviously not, because the data that they have trained is something else. Let's take that you have finance reporting, finance data for the year 2024 or 2025. Let's take past 10 years. Obviously, that data
Okay.
is more private data. So how do you fine tune this model to adapt to your own need? Obviously, you can't get this model and use it directly,
Understood.
right?
But for example, if you take GitHub Copilot, so actually
Hmm.
it is not giving every time the answers from the repository or the
Right,
knowledge that it is having, right? So it
right.
will act upon my code as well. So
Okay,
I can open a file and say that, hey Copilot, explain me this file. So it
right,
will reads my content and it will explains me the file structure and the file names,
right,
everything.
right,
So it's not only the data that is already fed and it is already trained, it is also
right,
acting upon my data, which is the dynamic thing.
right,
So today you can ask on your file and I can ask on my file.
right.
So that's what I'm checking. So now basically, okay, I got an idea. So you mean to say that, okay, there is some model that they developed which will take the take the input of text and convert into image. So to do that, it was trained in such a way. So in the same way, tomorrow in future, if my organization wants something, a model to act
Hmm.
upon our company's data, then we need to create this model.
Right.
So this
Now,
entire course is going to help us in creating those models, not using the existing models.
no, the existing tools, the existing models, and how to fine tune it, or even some case we take the base model and we use something
Okay.
called few shots or
Mm-hmm.
one shot to get an answer,
Yes.
right? Or you can even use document readers wherein we can use LLM models as it is, plus we
Okay.
provide additional context, like in the case of GitHub Copilot. The problem with GitHub Copilot is third party. It is not your
Okay.
own solution. So fine tuning is changing the model by itself, taking the base model
Yes.
and changing it in a way that
Okay.
has knowledge about our own data. Our own data. Whereas
Okay.
document readers are basically we don't disturb the models, we provide additional context. What if it
Okay.
doesn't answer properly? Then we add reasoning models. So there are basically three kinds of solutions. One, IAS,
Mm-hmm.
PAS, and
Yes.
SAS.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Right now, the AWS or Azure are moving towards combining these two, product as service and software as service.
Okay.
Azure Foundry and AWS Bedrock is one such solutions. IAS is basically your own model, your own VM, your own
Okay.
resources, your own
Mm-hmm.
model, okay, and
Okay.
exposing in the form of API. As product as service is sometimes this VM part, resource part will be taken out. You get the
Yes.
model,
Mm-hmm.
and if you want to fine tune it, go ahead, you can use that. And if you want to build an API, you can go ahead and use it. Whereas software as a service, again, model as an API
Okay.
directly. So there are various categories and it depends on the client requirement. We need to go for it. It's not always a
Okay.
one shot solution. GitHub Pilot is one such solution, and per token they are going to
Understood.
charge it.
Understood. So, I mean, the reason behind why I asked this question is like,
Mm.
because I went through so many, like, I attended some of the other people's demos,
Right.
where they're basically saying, when I say AI, they are saying like how to use different tools for the creation of web content or for
Right.
making videos or something like that. So
Mm.
that is like basically if you want to be a do a second source of income kind of thing, where
Right.
you can utilize the existing open source and build contents or upload videos or whatever it may be. But
Right.
what I am exactly expecting is, so after learning this course, so I
Mm.
can create a model in our organization which will
Mm.
act upon our data. I can
Right.
do
You
that,
can
right?
you
So
you can do that. But thing is
okay,
that there are two ways to do it. One, building from scratch, which is very
okay,
expensive, or
okay.
the other way is get the base model and fine tune on your
Hmm.
own data. Let me show you this. Let's take 235 billion parameter, right?
Okay.
235 billion parameter. What is the size of this? 142 GB. This is the model
Okay.
size. But how much time they would have taken? They would have taken years.
Hmm.
They would have used thousands of GPUs. So it's
Understood.
not easy to build a model like this, but we can use these models as a base and we can fine tune on our own data. Or simply we can use a document reader wherein we use the model as it is, we provide additional context with reasoning if you
Okay,
want.
got it. So,
So it
Damodar,
changes
basically,
from context to context. Yeah, go ahead.
understood. Sorry to interrupt. So basically, this course will drive us to uh, develop a model. Can I put it in that way?
We
I
can
can
develop the
develop a model.
model. Yes, we can develop the
Okay.
model from scratch. I will show you that. But for LLMs, we may not generate, an effective model. But I will show you the process flow, complete process flow.
Okay.
Apart from
Uh,
it, we can take the model from open source like this, and we
mhm.
can fine tune on our own data.
Yeah. Anyways, I mean, once the course starts, maybe these things will be rectified in a timely manner. As
Right.
in the course progresses, I will get to know more about it. But the only problem is, may I know the timings of this batch?
So timings should start at 10 o'clock, and it's going to last
Okay.
for 3 to 4 hours. Usually, it's going to be
Okay.
2 to 3 hours for first few sessions on weekends,
It's on Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday.
And moreover,
Mm.
mm, uh, okay. So is this something starts at 7 a.m. in the morning?
Uh, then you need to communicate with VLS. Even I'm not sure when it's going to start. Like
Yeah,
it's going to
because
be at 10
right now
o'clock. Yeah.
I'm in USA. So when you say 10 a.m., it will be like 12:30 a.m. for me.
I'll
So
speak
since I
to, yeah, I will speak to
Mohan,
them. Mohan, yeah,
okay.
I think you are in contact with Mohan, right? Mohan or
Yeah,
Ramesh.
because already Mohan, I spoke to that guy regarding to some other coach training earlier,
Mm-hmm.
3 4 months back. So I has his contact. But if it is 10 a.m., so it's very hard because even to be frank, in this session I slept sometime. Suddenly I woke up.
Okay.
Sorry, sorry for that. So. mm yeah, course content wise, it looks good. See, at the end of the day, learning something new which we don't know is always a value add. We can't everything has its own weightage and all. So let's see how the things goes, because 10 the only timing is the concern for me,
Okay.
because 10 a.m. is like my mind won't be in an active state at that time because it's midnight for me.
Okay. Speak to
So
them. Let's
okay.
see.
So if at
Even
all
I
if the
prefer
session starts, will it be from the next week or
next weekend onwards.
oh, from next weekend? Okay. So do you know any about the course fee and all?
Something that you need to communicate with them. So,
Okay. Okay.
and again, time also, like even I prefer 7 to 10 or 7 to 11.
Yeah, because
So speak
7
to
means
them.
at least it's 9:30 p.m. for me. so I
Okay.
can accommodate. So the course content, whatever you are displaying, so everything is covered, right?
Yeah, it is up to date, and you have that includes all the projects or the topics that we discuss. Even the latest one protocols, MCP and A2A also, we have a couple of projects on this.
Great. Because why I'm actually the main interest of looking into this course is our organization, um, they are coming with this new kind of automation approach where
Right,
we have a large amounts of data, and we are
right,
coming to we are going to implement these AI models on the data to better
right.
serve the customers. So I think this is one course which is going to help me out. So let's see. I will talk to Mohan then.
Sure. And as I
So,
said, you said
just,
like it's not just utilizing the existing tools. In fact, if
yeah,
we
because
want to utilize
like
the existing tools
everyone
alone,
saying you need to give this prompt, you need to
yeah,
give this command. Uh,
that is not
so
good enough. Because
yes,
just utilizing prompt engineering is also part of this course. Let me show you that.
okay.
Uh,
So
it's not that prompt engineering we don't have. We do have prompt engineering too, but that is only a part of it. So utilizing existing tools is not good enough being a generative engineer. So you need to be, well versed in building the whole API. It's not just whole API, fine tuning, quantization, prediction, and the whole thing, whole
yeah,
process
because
flow.
existing models are trained on something and they will act on something, and even if something comes in, it will try to learn and put it in its repository. So next time if someone asks, it will be like additional knowledge to it. So today you will ask one question,
Mm,
one problem, it will stores it. So tomorrow if I come and ask the same problem,
mm.
since you already asked, it will store your solution in the repository and it will show me back the same, right? So that's how
Right.
it works.
In fact,
So it's like
it
daily
doesn't learn
development.
on it. Yeah, the thing is that the way those models works, it doesn't learn on its own. Basically, it adds context. There's a difference between learning and adding context. So
Okay,
it takes the previous history as a context. It considers
okay,
that data, but it does not learn on its own.
yeah,
If at all you want in that manner, then you need to go for fine tuning. There are
okay.
various approaches. It's not that these models, ChatGPT, GPT 4.4,
So it
4.0
just
or
break down our problem statement and see what the apt solution for it, and it will display
right,
us, right?
right,
So it
right,
will break down our problem statement to the maximum suitable solution, and
right.
it will gives us.
And that is very expensive. The third-party APIs are very expensive. So if you want to use your own model to reduce the cost, right, then you have to follow a different approach altogether.
Yeah, generally, I think every organization nowadays they are building their own models, right? Because,
Exactly.
for example, if I open something, any bank application, it will ask
Right.
like ChatGPT, and so it's a kind of internal ChatGPT. It's not an external
Mm,
ChatGPT. It's
that's true.
the bot is their internal thing
Because
because it
they
has
charge per token, right? So for every word, it's not
yes,
word is not equal token, but consider that word is token. So every word or every
yes,
token, they're going to charge.
yes,
So it's going to win if it for week if it for if it's for a week or 10 days, that's fine. But what
mhm,
about few months or years? The cumulative billing, the cost going to be
yes.
too expensive. It's better to buy their own infra or at least utilize a cloud infra.
Yeah, and moreover, we can't ask the third party tools to jump in into our sensitive information and to get a solution for me, right?
Yes,
So
and
instead, I can
moreover,
have my own. Yeah.
after certain requests, it says that okay, your limit is crossed, so you need to wait for
Mm-hmm.
so and so time. So, but when it comes to our own models, obviously there are no limitations except resources. That's all.
Yeah. Basically, what are the models that are available today? Those are generic models, I can say, which like
Uh,
Google search, right?
exactly. Google search is
Those are
different. We
yeah.
use SERP API. So for Google search,
Mm-hmm.
we use SERP API or these we use these APIs or DuckDuckGo. So we
Okay.
use the APIs to
Mhm.
get the up-to-date results. LLM models are
Yes.
not good enough to because they will have its own cutoff date.
Yes, yes.
Then we need to use
It
these
won't
tools,
show the latest information, like
latest
unless if it is
information.
someone feed it to it.
Exactly.
So if
So
I
even
ask who is the latest prime minister, if it doesn't have the yesterday's information, it will show me old prime minister details.
that is one of the topics that we discuss in LangChain basics. This is one of
Okay.
this part of concepts wherein we combine SERP API
Mm-hmm.
and we get the latest information. Let me show you that example. Maybe it takes time to execute it.
Mm-hmm.
But I use my own model. I have not used a third-party one like OpenAI, and it
Oh,
answers the question. So let me.
great.
Where is it? Okay, so not this one. Maybe on top it somewhere. You'll find it here. Let's say, give me the latest information about India and Pakistan in April 25. Obviously, the model that we use will have cutoff date. It would have been trained on 2000 in the year 2024 or early 2025. But latest
Mm-hmm.
information, April or May, I will not get information. So I need to use SERP or LM Math. These are two tools. I can use it for Google search and mathematical operations. I can combine this
Okay.
along with this model, which is free
Yeah.
open source model, and I can get this information. You can see as of April 2020, tensions between India and
Mm.
Pakistan have escalated,
Great,
while
great,
Pakistan claiming. So that is how we do it. So
great.
LLMs or models will have its own limitations. And moreover, you raise one point, like generating videos and images. In real
Yeah.
world problems, we don't use images or videos or even audio. It is
Yes.
predominantly LLMs, that is text or code. Because
Mm-hmm.
images
Yes.
or videos are not production grade. We don't have open source production grade models. Even if you go to Sora, there are a lot of flaws in it.
Yes. Yes.
So it's more predominantly it is LLM, large language model, language based, that is text or code generation. So we're going to
Yes.
focus more on that.
Yeah. Sure, Damodar. Anyways, the codes and all which you are showing, I think it's very far high for me because I am not from a development background.
Hmm.
So, but basically, whatever you are showing, I think it's makes
Hmm.
sense and it's more valuable. The thanks for your patiently answering my
Welcome.
questions, Damodar.
Welcome. And moreover,
Maybe I ask more questions.
mo- these projects, in fact, being prepared in a form of template kind of, wherein even a
Mm,
beginner can take it and use it. So
understood.
these products itself, it took me around 1.5 months to prepare. So it's not easy to prepare on your own, and you don't get it online anywhere else. Like even if you search GitHub or any other course you take, they don't prepare the scripts and give it to students, learners, I mean to say.
Yeah,
So this is more a kind of templates. You can use it in production directly as it is. If it has any bugs, you can use LLM models and fix bugs, or you can approach me. Any that I
understood.
provide, if
Understood.
it has bugs, you can reach out to me.
Understood.
Yeah.
Sure, Damodar. Hopefully, we will meet if the timings permits.
Yeah, then you can speak to them. They will definitely arrange accordingly.
Yeah, sure, Damodar. I will speak to him then.
Yeah. Any other questions? Banerjee, Babu, Jagan. All right, that's it from my end. I think we started around 10 o'clock, right? 10
Yeah,
o'clock, and
it's
it's
almost 1.5 hours.
1.5 hours.
Yep.
Now, I don't mind even spending another half an hour if you have questions. But I hope you got a good overview of what we provide in this course. And timings, fee, and all those things you can directly speak to them,
Okay.
institute. When it comes to technical part, I will deliver it. And I am
Anyway,
Dhamodhar.
those
And
people will approach us on the WhatsApp, right? I mean,
yes,
since we
yes,
are enrolled for the demo, so they will ask like, well, are we joining? Are we not? Like,
right.
okay,
And
let's.
and the content will be provided in this manner. So let me show you this. The Google Classroom. I will share the scripts right here. And videos will be provided by them. The content
Okay,
and the sessions and all, like I will take care of it. Right.
no problem.
So yeah. So this is
And
the
one
current.
last question, Damodar. So, how about the job market for this? So, when I say I learned generative AI, I can create models on my own using pandas or Python, or if I say like that. So how much of years of expertise they will ask, they will expect?
So generative AI is quite new field. It's not more than 2 years. And production
Okay.
grade, I mean to say. So we have AI from quite long time, but
Yes.
by the end of this course, you'll get at least 2 years of experience. Along with what you already
Yes.
have, if you can add 2 years, that is good enough to get through. So you can easily
Yeah, because
crack in it.
my
Yeah.
only concern is right now I am like 15 years into IT. This is my
Okay.
16th year.
Oh,
So will I say like, okay, my 16 years experience, I was in some other field, but this I learn and I will keep from last 2 years I am doing this. So will it
right.
be sufficient, or people will expect, oh no, this guy is from 16 years. So the level of expectations will be huge in that case.
No, not
Or
like that.
this
Like if you
course is
have,
only for freshers kind of thing.
and there is one perception that in IT industry, if you have more than some 15 or 20 years, they don't consider. But the fact is, more experience you have, it all depends on the requirement. So generative AI, I mean, generative engineers, especially, there are a lot of requirement. Let me say, a lot of vacancies you have. It all
Yeah.
depends on the vacancy. So don't get into this, perceptions like, they may not take it if you have 15 years of experience
Yeah,
like that.
because
So,
sometimes what happens is these courses and all, freshers can easily learn and they can put 2 years and they can crack into job and they can get into
right,
the job easily, because these courses are highly useful for them. When I say useful for them, even
right,
companies also don't want to pay you use salaries, right? So they can
right.
take 2 years, guys. So my question is, with this experience, if I learn, so will they consider me, or this is only, or they consider only the freshers with this knowledge, or
Uh,
the
They, they will
tell me.
definitely consider, but there are few organizations wherein they don't take high experience guys, especially more than
Uh-huh.
15 or 20 years.
Yeah, yeah,
Forget
yeah.
about them, but I mean, a bigger organization definitely give value to experience.
Hmm.
So, so don't worry about that. But generative AI, as I feel like you have a lot of vacancies, and as it
Okay.
replaces many other domains, I mean to say specializations like our development, it is already took 30 to 40% of the market,
Yeah.
right?
Anyways, as I said earlier, even our organization is going to doing this kind of stuff. So
Right.
really, if I learn perfectly and if I can do perfectly, I can even shift into that. I can
Yes,
ask the
you
managers
can
and I
easily
can.
transition from the
Yeah.
existing role to generative engineer. Yeah, in your own organization.
Sure.
That in fact that
Sure,
is the
Dhamodhar.
right way to do it, rather than
Yes,
searching
yes.
jobs somewhere else.
In the new company, it's better to
Yeah, yeah.
shift in the same company. Yep.
So
Sure.
work for next 2 to 3 years, and then you can get as much as you want if you go somewhere else.
Understood. Understood. Yeah. Anyway, nothing is going to be waste, Damodar, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Even single line of knowledge that we learn today,
that's
definitely
true.
it's going to be useful. Yeah, I agree. Sure, Damodar. Then I think we'll meet next time. Okay.
Yeah, sure. And I think
Yep.
WhatsApp community being created, so you can post questions if you have any, and
Mm,
we will answer that.
sure.
Apart
Sure.
from the timings and all.
Sure. VLR training. Okay. No
WhatsApp
problem. Yep.
community being created, I think. Yeah.
I don't think so. So did I receive? So today VLR training, join conversation.
They
Okay.
usually create WhatsApp community for students, but let's see, like you can reach out to them and ask them to share the WhatsApp community link.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
will.
yeah. Sure, no problem. Okay then.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.
And anyone else has any questions? Jagan Sivsankar, Banerjee Babu, Nagaraju. We have two
Yeah,
Nagarajus
Dhamodhar.
here.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Hello.
Please,
Hello.
go ahead.
ఇది ఇప్పుడు ఈ జనరేటివ్ ఏంటి 3 months లో అయిపోతే మనం రెజ్యూమ్ పెట్టేయచ్చా ఏంటి
3.5 months working course complete అవడానికి, and
Hmm.
it will take around 6 months complete grip రావడానికి. అంటే ఇచ్చిన కంటెంట్ పక్కాగా రావడం అంటే ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయడానికి 6 months పడుతుంది.
టూల్స్ ఏంటి అసలు అంత కొత్తగా ఉన్నాయి, నాకైతే ఏం అర్థం లేదు.
బట్ అది సీక్వెన్షియల్ గా వెళ్ళినప్పుడు అన్ని ఇప్పుడు ఓవర్వ్యూ ఇస్తున్నాం కాబట్టి ఐఎమ్ జస్ట్ గివింగ్ ఓవర్వ్యూ, రైట్? సో ఇఫ్ యూ గో ఇన్ సీక్వెన్షియల్ మేనర్ దెన్ ఇట్స్ నాట్ రియల్లీ గోయింగ్ టు బి డిఫికల్ట్. So we'll start with Python basics and then slowly we'll move to NumPy and Pandas, right? And then we will go to Matplotlib and then it will take some time. అన్నీ ఒకేసారి మీకు టాపిక్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేసరికి అంటే ఓవర్ చేస్తున్నాం కదా, సో అంతవల్ల కన్ఫ్యూజన్ వచ్చిండొచ్చు. సీక్వెన్షియల్గా వెళ్తే మాత్రం మీకు ఆ డౌట్ రాదు. ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయాలి అఫ్ కోర్స్. యూ నీడ్ టు స్పెండ్ అట్లీస్ట్ 2 to 3 hours అపార్ట్ ఫ్రమ్ ది సెషన్.
అంటే మనం నౌకరీలో ఏం చూడాలంటే జనరేటివ్ ఏ ఓపెనింగ్స్ అని కొట్టాలా?
జనరేటివ్ ఏ ఇంజనీర్ ఆర్ ఏ ఇంజనీర్ డిస్క్రిప్షన్ బట్టి. సో జనరేటివ్ ఏ ఇంజనీర్ టైప్ చేయండి, GenAI ఇంజనీర్.
అంటే మనకి ఇక్కడ డేటాబేస్ ఏమైనా అవసరం లేదా? పైథాన్ సరిపడుతుంది.
డేటాబేస్ కూడా ఒకటి యాక్చువల్గా. సో ఇఫ్ యూ లుక్ ఎట్ దిస్, డేటాబేసెస్ కూడా ఇట్స్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద కోర్స్. వెక్టర్ డేటాబేస్ ఇవన్నీ కూడా పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద కోర్స్. అండ్ మోర్ ఓవర్ డేటాబేస్ లైక్ డేటాబేస్ అడిగారు కాబట్టి డేటాబేస్ లైక్ MySQL, PostgreSQL, SQLite, SQL సో ఎలా కనెక్ట్ చేయాలి, సపరేట్ స్క్రిప్ట్స్ ప్రొవైడ్ చేస్తున్నాం. సో డేటా అనేది ఏ ఫార్ములా ఉండొచ్చు కదా. సో దెన్ ఇఫ్ అట్ ఆల్ that is the case, you have this. So we'll provide complete scripts. And this is the way that you can access, you can execute the scripts. You can utilize these functions for insertion, updation, deletion, various others, for various other cases. And vector database also we have, like ChromaDB, MongoDB, Cosmos, and DynamoDB, we can utilize it to store vectors. Clear?
అంటే యాజ్ ఏ పర్టికులర్లీ ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్ అంటే మనం కోడ్ రాసేటప్పుడు ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్ అంటే ఉంటుందా, ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్ బ్యాక్ ఎండ్ అని?
Right. Okay.
అంటే ఇన్బిల్ట్ ఏమైనా కాపీ పేస్ట్ లే ఉంటాయా జనరేటివ్ ఏంటి?
So we'll provide you the projects in the form of templates. ఇక్కడ మీకు చూస్తే అన్ని కూడా టెంప్లెట్ ఫామ్ లో ప్రొవైడ్ చేస్తాం కోడ్. ఈ కోడ్ యూజ్ చేసుకోవచ్చు మీరు ఆ సినారియోని బట్టి, ఆ రిక్వైర్మెంట్ బట్టి. యూ కెన్ యూటిలైజ్ వన్ ఆఫ్ ది స్క్రిప్ట్స్. For test classification, you can utilize this script. For APS, we have, if you have any other relation stuff, we created a dummy API structure, the basic structure, you can utilize that. You can follow the same pattern. And we have a lot of other projects, like 10 to 15 projects. Let me show you that. Projects working. These are all projects that we have. Or RAG document reader, vector database, multi-agent FS, Llama Vision, right? And image generator, multi-agent again. So we have various, almost 10 to 15 on Generative itself. You can go through curriculum. Here we have it in the website. Around 11 projects on Generative itself. In fact, it is more than 11, around 10 to 15. Obviously, initially it's going to be difficult to grasp things, but you need to spend enough time and both in listening to the session, listening and practicing. Clear or any other questions?
Okay, thanks Dhamodhar.
Yeah, so మీరు భయపడాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. అని మాక్సిమం టెంప్లెట్ ఫామ్ లో ప్రొవైడ్ చేస్తాం కదా, సో మీకు ఈజీగానే ఉంటుంది అర్థం చేసుకోవడం. అది కాబట్టి ఏదైనా సీక్వెన్షియల్ నేర్చుకోవాలి, హాప్ ఫ్రమ్ వన్ టు అనదర్. That's the point. Yes, Banerjee, Nagaraju, and Sivsankar, any questions?
I'm good, Dhamodhar.
Okay. Okay, that's it for today. That's it from my end. So if you have any questions, let me know, or else you can log off.
Thank you, Dhamodhar.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you,
thanks.
everyone.